I'm Liz, and this is
Joey.
He's my good friend, and we did a collaboration. We decided to read The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa. It is book 1 in the Blood of Eden series. And the series starts with a girl named Allison who hates vampires. And essentially, the vampires took over the human race and decided to rule over them to prevent them from continuing to die from a plague called the Red Lung. And they give the humans a choice to become registered or non-registered. And if you're registered, you trade your blood to get food stamps and clothing. Whereas if you're unregistered, you have to scavenge and steal and all of that stuff in order to survive. And Allison decides to become unregistered. And so she has to scavenge and steal, and it puts her in some really bad situations, and she thinks she can handle it because she feels like she's very tough. But that almost puts her into worse situations. One of them is where she goes outside of the city to find food. And when you go outside of the city, you have the potential to find a rabbit. And a rabbit is a vampire that has been infected with the Red Lung, and they're very crazy. They've essentially lost their will to think and process any type of cognition. So all they think about is when's the next meal, where's my next kill, I'm gonna eat, and that is all they think about. They're
your classic zombie.
Yeah, they're like that's a good part. A zombie. They're essentially a zombie.
They're just gonna attack you and eat you.
Yeah, and that puts her in that situation where she gets attacked by a rabbit, and a vampire comes along and gives her the choice to either die or become a vampire. And even though she really hates vampires, she decides to stay alive and become a vampire. And now she has to fight her internal battle of hating who she is, fighting the monster within her, and then also figure out where she lies in society and how to hold on to her humanity as best as possible. And so we're going to first talk about our ratings of the book, and I'll let Joey go first.
I rated it a 4 out of 5 because it had a lot of action scenes. It really put you in the moment. It was a great book. It really, throughout the whole book, there was next to no time when you weren't interested in what happens next, where they're going, and everything kind of spawned more questions like what's going on here. You wanted to know more, and that's what I really enjoyed. That's what kept me enticed in the book. Granted, you are going through the entire book. If you're a dude reading it, the main character is a girl, Allison, and so you have those moments where you're obviously following a girl.
You didn't like it.
So
you can't handle the truth of how it is to be a girl.
Anyway, so it does have those moments, but if you're looking for a classic, good novel that takes you back to scary vampires, but isn't just about killing vampires, there's a little bit of more of a meaning to it, this is your book. And if you're a dude, pick it up. Have a read.
Mm-hmm. And you said that this is the first book you read this year.
It's probably... It was the first book I've read, and probably that wasn't school related. Granted, school, kind of forced you to read some books. That wasn't school related that I probably read in the last 2 years.
Yeah, so that was a good accomplishment for me. I got somebody who doesn't read into reading. And he's actually read all 3 of the books. I am behind in my game. I've only read the first book. But he's read the entire series.
That goes to tell you that even though you're following a girl around and girls have emotions, go figure, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, so, I mean, that really does show, how good this book really is if it can turn a non-reader into a reader.
Yes, I'm really excited for the next book you recommend, by the way.
What one was that?
I don't know.
We're gonna choose another book. Awesome. So, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 because I thought Julie Kagawa, she wrote this book so well. Shut up. She really ties in the plot, the character, and even like the setting developments so well. She's so good at writing this dystopian world that it throws you right into the action, and like you can imagine everything, but it's not overly descriptive, which is really nice. Like, I know if you read like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings,
It's just about to say that.
So descriptive that it almost bores you. Like, that's how Aragon was for me.
I liked Aragon.
See, and I didn't like Aragon, I'm sorry. But this book, it's so great with its description, and it puts you right in there without boring you. And then the action scenes are so well thought out that you can actually picture like who's getting hit, what's happening, and how Allison thinks about all these battle scenes. And then like there is some romance in there. There is some definite plot development with just the plague and vampires. You learn all about, you learn about more in depth of this vampire society that Julie Kagawa developed. So it was just really cohesive, and it was very believable. Like, each character was very true to themselves, and there wasn't any like irritating changes to any of the character as they learned throughout the story.
I would agree.
They're very believable. So I really, really like this book. So Joey read it in audiobook, and I read the actual the hard copy version of the book, and there were some differences there. Like, when I saw Kanan in the book, he is the vampire that turns Allison. I read it as Canon, whereas the audiobook said it was Kanan. So, like, there's that difference. So that's what's kind of nice about audiobooks, is you can actually, like, hear the pronunciation of names, because, let me tell you, character names can be so weird in books. You have no idea how it's pronounced. And so I think that's kind of nice with an audiobook.
I enjoyed the audiobook. I do like paper copies, like physically having a paper copy, because there are some stuff that obviously in the audiobook that you would read it differently than they would probably say it. Also, the book has some other stuff, like it has a summary at the end of The First Prince, I guess, is a different book. It has like a summary of that for you, so you can learn some more books and different stuff like that you might want to read later. Whereas the audiobook it ends when the book ends. That's it.
Another thing that was kind of different is summary expectations.
Oh,
so when we first picked up the Immortal Rules...
Keep in mind, this has never happened to me before. This is the first time I've ever seen this done.
Yeah, so we read the summary of the jacket before I picked a book. I had Joey, I summarized books I had on my shelf and told him to pick a book that sounded the best. And so we went through the inside jacket summary of the book. And the summary for the Immortal Rules is the entire series summary. It talks about Allison hating vampires, her turning into a vampire, and then her looking for a cure. Whereas the first book doesn't really go into the cure until, it brings it up, but it doesn't, it's not her avidly searching for a cure.
I was listening to it, and as I was going through the book and stuff, I'm sitting here like, where's this cure? I remember being told there was going to be a cure, and there's like 25 chapters. I've hit chapter like 19, and I'm like, this cure better be coming up soon, otherwise they're going to be rushing to finish this thing. Well, come to find out that that's the summary of all 3 books. Yeah. The first book is almost just a let me tell you how all these characters fit into place and what their role is in the overall game. But it's great because it doesn't focus on that. You know how you get like the movies that just focus on character creation and stuff. There's actually a plot, and there's actually a villain that comes in. There's fighting scenes, so it's actually really good. Mm-hmm. Also, if you didn't see the tag on this, she got this book for $2. It's probably worth a whole lot more than that, in my opinion.
The DI is a wonderful place.